Okay, so people keep saying that Netflix is dying, but they just came out with Stranger Things 4, and now this. I think they're fine.
That makes sense to me.
Adam Sandler stars in Netflix's new dramedy sports movie, Hustle. I've got some thoughts, so let's get started with the good. First things first, let's just get it out of the way. This is not Adam Sandler's typical genre. Whether you love him or hate him for it, Adam Sandler has always been known as a comedian. He's the goofy guy that falls down every 10 minutes and makes funny voices. I don't think that sounds like any of the voices that he ever makes, but I tried and you know what I'm saying, hopefully. In this movie, he shows that he is so much more than just your typical goofy guy character. In Hustle, Adam Sandler plays a very dynamic character who has such a caring heart and incredible drive. He's the type of person that not only makes himself better, but helps so many people around him want to be better versions of themselves. Adam Sandler seriously knocks this role out of the park. I believed everything he said, every emotion he was feeling, and every action that he took. What makes this work so well is that even though this character is more serious than most Adam Sandler characters, he still has his quirks. He has his awkward moments, his little quips here and there, and is just overall a fun guy to be around. But unlike most characters Adam Sandler plays, Stan isn't trying to turn every single moment into a funny one. When there is comedy in this film, it doesn't feel forced or out of place in the slightest. But I'm gonna stop right there because that leads us right into my next point, which is that all the characters in this feel so real. Starting with Stan himself, we learn throughout this movie some of the things that he's been through and what's led him to this point in his life. He's a passionate, caring person who is constantly trying to do what's best for himself, his team, and the people he cares about. Then you have Bo Cruz, who's a hardworking single parent coming from an impoverished community and trying to make it in the NBA and build a better life for his family. Even Queen Latifah, who plays Stan's wife, Teresa, does a fantastic job as the caring, supportive wife that helps drive Stan. Every single one of these characters feels like a person that you could meet in real life. And because these characters are so authentic, the audience feels for them the entire way through. When one of them was angry, I felt angry, but when they were celebrating, I, as the audience member, was overjoyed myself. Absolutely fantastic characterization throughout this entire movie. Along with that, the storytelling in this film absolutely blew me away. The cinematography, the script, the character interactions, every element in this was so carefully produced and it worked so well. So much of this film is building up characters and situations that by the time we get to the conflict, we feel everything. Starting with the cinematography, there were so many different camera shots, color grading, movement, and music styles used throughout the runtime of this. There were points where some of the cinematography almost felt experimental, like the crew was just trying a ton of different creative things and seeing what worked later. Sometimes this can lead to a movie feeling disjointed, but somehow with this project, even though there were differences from scene to scene, it all fit together really well. There were maybe 3 moments or so in this where I felt like the editing or camera work or something was just a little bit off, but there were about 99 other times where I was incredibly impressed by the editing and the camera work and just the creativity of this team overall, and those are the moments that I remember most. The script also helped drive this story home through conversations and situations that it would set up. For instance, in one scene where Stan is yelling out of frustration and wakes up his wife, she comes over as he's yelling and gives him a hug. I don't know why, but this scene hit me right in my feels and made their relationship feel so much more genuine. Then there's another part where Stan surprises Bo and his reaction is just priceless. I don't want to spoil anything, so that's all I'm gonna say, but if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. I also want to mention that while I would say this is a pretty feel-good movie at the end of the day, there are some moments in here that are tough to watch because of how invested you get with these characters and these situations. When the highs are high, they are really high, but in order for that to pay off, the lows here are really, really low. It sucks to see these characters that you care so much about get manipulated and hurt, but it seriously makes the payoff moments so much sweeter. What's crazier is that when you care so much for these characters, the payoff doesn't even have to be that big or exactly what you imagine for it to really feel sweet. Even the smallest victories in this make you feel so happy for our lead characters. For my final good spot, I wanted to mention that I think this movie actually covers the sports world, social media, and just people in general really well. For every one of these aspects in this movie, it's never painted out as a black and white situation. For example, so many films will take social media and make it the worst thing ever that's destroying human interaction, or On the flip side, the best thing ever that can make you famous. In this movie, you get to see how social media can be used to tear people down, but you can also see how it creates a platform for someone. For the NBA, you see how awful some of the owners and players can be, but at the same time, you see other owners and players treating each other like a family. Hustle doesn't make blanket statements about anything, and I think that's really saying something with how divided a lot of movies and TV shows have become today. But hopefully you guys are not divided on how you feel about this video, because I would appreciate it if you could go down and just boop that like button for me, and also turn that subscribe button from red to a beautiful gray. Thank you very much. And with that, let's move on to what I thought was mixed in this movie. First up, we have the pacing of this film, specifically the first 45 minutes to an hour or so. Now, our lead character in this, Stan, is a scout for the NBA, so naturally he's traveling constantly, seeking out the best talent from around the world. The beginning shows us a montage of him talking to different players and scouting different teams around the globe, and the pacing of this works. However, past that point, the pacing stays pretty fast, and for me at least, it felt like a lot of moving parts. My brain felt like it was constantly moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Like, he's a scout, he's promoted, this awful thing happens, he's demoted, he's a scout, he's going to Mexico, he goes to see a player, the player's hurt, he walks away, he's at a street game, he follows a guy, he's on the bus with the guy leaves, he somehow continues to follow the guy, even though the bus already left without him, but whatever. Now he's outside this guy's apartment, now they're inside, now they're in an airport. It's a lot to take in. It kind of reminds me of a shitty action movie where they're moving from place to place to place with not that much explanation, and you're just trying to keep up, but it's really hard because so much is happening. Now, the reason that this is in my mixed category is because I think that this was likely an intentional move. You're in the basketball scene, it's a movie called Hustle. I think I could understand why the team might want to make this a little more fast-paced so you actually feel like you're on the job a little bit. If that's the case and this was intentional, then I can respect it. It's still not necessarily what I would have chosen, but I can understand it. Also making their way into my mixed category is our main antagonist, Vince. My problem here is that I don't think this character was very well built up. As good as so much of the characterization was in this movie, there was like zero background to our main bad guy in this. He's basically just one of those antagonists that's just bad because, well, we need somebody bad to create conflict. He's a self-righteous, rich douchebag that thinks he's never wrong and obviously hates our lead because, well, don't worry about it, okay? He's just a big bad meanie. That's all you need to know. Just hate him, okay? The only reason this gets a pass and is not in my bad category is because I did really hate him. As little as I knew about him, he still did feel like a real character that would mismanage his power and be a douchebag to anybody that didn't think he was God himself. So I guess they get off on that front.
That's what she said.
But with that, we're on to the bad. Okay, so I know that this is a basketball movie, but holy montage, dude. There was seriously enough training montage in this movie for this movie and another one as well. Literally just cut the training montage shit in half and I'd be cool with it. There were so many moments where I thought we were officially done watching this dude run up a hill and hitting buttons on a wall, but I was never right. I understand that training to be in something as big as the NBA takes so much time and effort and, well, hustle, but enough is enough and I'm putting my foot down here. Easily the most boring part of this movie for me. Seriously though, just know that the sheer amount and length of these montages is a little bit excessive. There's enough montage, okay? It's enough slices! Finally, for my bad category though, one thing that I really wanted throughout this movie was to feel the tension between Stan's job and his family. According to Stan, he's missed 9 of his daughter's birthday parties over the year because of his job, but I never really felt the tension and stress that it caused him or his family. They said numerous times that it was a burden, but we never really got to see it affect any part of his life in any real way. I feel like this is really the one area where they cut corners, and it was hard for me to feel connected to this story in the beginning because of that. Perhaps if they would have cut out some of the freaking montages, they would have had more time to show this, but whatever, Netflix. Now let's head into my final thoughts. Hustle is comedy, drama, suspense, action, a little bit of something for everyone. Adam Sandler, along with the rest of the cast, really seem to have put their all into this movie, and it shows. There's a couple of missed opportunities here and there, but when it comes down to it, I think that this movie accomplishes what it set out to do and more. For all of that, I'm going to give Hustle a slammin' 9 out of 10. This is easily my favorite Adam Sandler movie to date, and I think you'd be missing out if you don't watch this one. If you made it this far though, please consider liking and subscribing, as I'm going to be reviewing all the movies and TV shows on all the different streaming platforms that you can imagine. That's all for this time, so I'll catch you in the next one.